Welcome, beautiful people, and thank you for joining us on Till the Wheels Fall Off, a podcast by two faux couple. I'm Matt.
And I'm Paige.
And we're here to inspire others, to bring you guys into our lives and tell you a little bit about our journey. Over 20 years together, we've learned a few things.
We're going to work toward being the best version of yourself possible. We're going to dig into building a positive mindset, discuss mental health, addiction recovery, improving fitness, building businesses, and insight into what it takes to navigate life today.
Welcome back to another episode of Till the Wheels Fall Off. I'm Matt.
I'm Paige.
Before we get started on this amazing episode, I want to let you know we still have sweatshirts available at twofaux.com. Just a handful of black left. Black was the hot color.
Yeah.
That was the one I didn't think people would want.
And I told you people like black sweatshirts.
You were on the money once again. You were right. You were right. Always.
Say it again. Keep saying it,
I could
baby.
just be right once, man. I'd appreciate it. But no, we're all good. It's all good. It's all good. Online course is still available. Independentlystrong.com. It is a course designed for your recovery. Addicts, alcoholics have a ton of options when it comes to recovery, but spouses and partners have very few. Ours takes a different angle than traditional programs like Al-Anon or some of the things you might be used to, and hits things from a completely different angle. It is comprehensive, it is research-backed, and it is going to get you what you need.
Yep.
You will be sitting through this going, oh my God, like this is, I can't believe something like this exists. It's
Seriously.
like they made it for me.
Yep.
That was our goal here.
It's true.
You can get 75% off that course using the code Wheelies75 at checkout. That's Wheelies with an S, 75. And then you can always stretch it out as well over 3 months in a payment plan.
Yep.
Allowing people to do that. There's also a mini course available right now on just self-care. We are
Yes.
still big on the self-care train. If you are in our community, please keep posting for accountability. You might not think it's relevant. We love seeing it, but other people love seeing it too. Mm-hmm. We need to remind ourselves, you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And it's not just all doom and gloom and bad stuff all the time.
No.
And horrible stories.
Right.
Let's remember there are people behind these stories, and these people are working to get better. Yes. I want to see it. I want to see it getting better.
Yes.
It's awesome when people are doing that.
Yeah, I love it.
And that's in our community, our free Facebook community. If you're not aware that exists, if you're new to this, then check out our any of the links in our social media profiles. You can find the TWFO community there. It's TWFO community.
Yes.
And I think that covers it.
What was yesterday?
Yesterday was our anniversary.
Yes. And
23
what
years.
happened?
For the first time in 23 years on February 2nd, we did not see each other.
Nope. It was sad. I actually got a little teary-eyed last night.
It was sad.
Like sometimes
I did too.
I just kind of think about it and I'm like, no, everything's okay. This is fine because you were doing something really, really cool. But still, I was like, this is a big day for us.
It's
huge.
We
were 14 years old when we got together.
I know everyone thinks their anniversary is special.
Mm-hmm.
Ours is special.
Yeah, like we do celebrate our wedding anniversary, but
we celebrate with a high five.
But our dating anniversary has always been just a big deal for us. It's Groundhog's Day, and it's like February.
Oh, did he see a shadow?
And it spring is gonna come sooner, I think.
That's what I'm talking about.
I think
it's 50-50. You're right, or one or the other. We'll go with that.
I was telling our son how phony baloney it was, and he's like, "Don't talk bad about what's his name,
Puxatawny Phil."
Yeah, he was so sad that I was.
Watch your mouth.
He was.
You already ruined everything else for me.
It was.
Let me have Phil.
Yes. So where have you been? I missed you. I missed you
too. It was rough,
weird.
and it wasn't like something I was just like, all right, I'll see you. This is something we talked about, agreed upon, and decided like this was going to be a good thing, even though it was going to be painful and it would suck. About a week ago, I got a DM from somebody who's got, for lack of a better term, they work in like Hollywood casting, and they were like, I think there's this part and you're going to be amazing for it. I'm like, I'm not an actor. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So, but we both decided, you know what? What's the harm? Like, it's going to be a good experience. You'll learn something. It's difficult. If it's difficult, you should do it. Yeah. We're all about that. You guys listen to us.
Yes,
you know that about us.
Opportunities. Take
so
them.
Submitted a tape, and like we loved it. We want to see another one. I'm like, what? No one else applied. That's the deal. That's the catch here.
That's what we were saying.
You're like, you told me that. You're like, no one else applied. If they asked you back,
whatever.
No one applied.
I said that you were awesome.
So I sent in another tape, and then they wanted to schedule a video call with the director and stuff. And then I got an email. And it's like, hey, you need to be in Los Angeles for a production meeting, and then we need you back for the next, or take a day off, come back, 2 days filming. Like
Yeah.
full days, like
Yeah, but it
12
was like
hour
so
days.
so quick that this happened.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And can't say much about the project right now.
No.
We will at a later date.
Once it's
I have
released.
signed an NDA and
Yeah.
but when it comes
But
out,
it's
you
still
will
really
know.
cool.
You will know.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I'm really proud of you. I think it's cool that we've been able to do
I'm
this.
proud of us.
But we have like had to pivot so much the past few days
Yeah.
because our daughter's having her first dance competition, and I'm dance mom, and I love this. I competed when I was younger, if y'all didn't know. So dancing was like my whole.
That's your thing.
It's my thing, and my daughter is so good at it, and I'm just enjoying it. And but we were not supposed to be here tonight. We were supposed to be gone, but things changed, and we had to come home and do this for all of you and everyone around. So we're here for you. I just realized we're wearing very similar pants. I feel like a dog right now when they see a squirrel.
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 Just getting distracted easily.
Squirrel. I got distracted easily, but yeah. It's been an interesting week and
It
weekend.
has. It really has. Like this is what hard feels like.
Yeah.
This is what hard feels like. And
Yeah.
we signed up for hard. We can do hard.
Yeah.
It's okay.
For sure.
It's not going to kill us.
Yep. So what's our topic?
You tell me.
Are we going to go into this?
Let's get into it.
All right. Let's talk about sex, baby.
We are talking
Talk about
about
you
sex
and
and
me.
all things sex. We've had
Intimacy.
more. Yeah. Intimacy is really the larger.
Which isn't just sex.
No, it's not.
So if you're a family member or a close friend who doesn't want to hear
Of ours, yeah.
about, our sex life, then you might want to turn this off. But if you do want to hear about it and you don't want your children around, you just be mindful that this is going to be an adult conversation.
This is a headphones in your car alone kind
Let's
of
be
episode.
real. Most of our episodes are
Yeah.
adult conversations.
They are. This is something that when we first started, I remember us saying out loud, like, that's a boundary I think I'd like to keep with listeners, is like our sex life will remain our sex life. Mm-hmm. But the more questions we got about it, the more we realized we had answers to a lot of these things.
Yes.
And then, so now are we withholding information that could be helpful for people?
Right.
And do we really care?
Right.
Like, honestly, no.
Right. No.
Not really.
No.
Like, what do I care? What do you care?
I don't care.
You know?
Yeah.
But we're going to get into it. We're
Yeah.
going to talk about our sex life.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the questions that we got whenever you submitted the anonymous intake form.
Oh, yeah.
And so for those that don't know, tell them about that.
Oh, I asked our community to provide some questions that they have on intimacy and what they're struggling with. And we got a lot. We got a lot of input, and we decided to just kind of put them together and categorize. And this is going to be a two-part episode too.
Two-part episode. So we got a lot of questions about infidelity.
Yeah.
Now, infidelity is not something that we have experience with.
Right.
But it is something that I have talked to professionals about that have worked people through this. Mm-hmm. We will have an episode that covers this with some input from professionals, people that have worked through this, as well as some of our own thoughts on it in the future.
Yes, that's going to be our next part of the episodes.
Yeah, that's one of the more common questions I get. And
it is.
Because a lot of interesting things that came back from that as well. Mm-hmm. Kind of wild. But today we're going to cover intimacy, and that does include physical intimacy.
Yeah.
But it also includes emotional intimacy.
Yeah. Well, intimacy is just sharing deep information with somebody. It's having really deep connection and conversations and talking and stuff like that. It's not just the physical part.
You can't tell a guy that, though. When men hear intimacy, they think it's a one-way street. It's just sex.
It's just sex.
Yes. I bet if you polled the American male public, it would come back overwhelmingly that means sex.
Well, that has not been our experience.
That's not been our relationship at any point either.
No.
It really hasn't.
No. It's we've had mutual respect for each other in that part. I think like our entire relationship.
Yeah, I don't think sex has ever been weird between us.
No.
Because intimacy's never been weird between us.
Right. Now we've had spurts of not being close due to addiction, sobriety, and lack of trust, just not being able to emotionally trust you. And that's gone up and down throughout our relationship I do think that that's common in a marriage. I don't think that it's supposed to be perfect all the time.
No, there's seasons in marriage.
There's going to be seasons with intimacy, with at least physical intimacy. I do feel like our emotional intimacy has been on point majority of our relationship.
Except for that 10-year period where I was on drugs.
Well, we still had
at times.
We still had those times though.
Yeah, there was enough to I guess remind each other
keep
that,
us,
hey man, there's a reason that we're together.
Right. Now towards the end it was really, really hard, but also we had little babies, or we had a little baby.
It does make a difference. So yeah. I'd like to preface the conversation with the information up front about intimacy, about the sex differences between men and women, some of the physiological things that are going on within someone who's in recovery. And we're going to talk about some of this stuff up front. That way we don't have to explain it while we're asking the questions.
Okay.
Does that make sense for you?
Sure.
Okay. So first of all, there are differences between sex drive, libido, and what arouses you between men and women.
Okay.
So I've got the information, but I can really only relate it to one side because I happen to be a man.
Right.
So you're going to have to fill in the parts that I have never experienced myself.
Okay.
So when it comes to the male sex drive, oh man. Okay. So there are physiological factors. So higher levels of testosterone, which is a hormone that men have more of than women do. You guys still have some, and I have estrogen as well.
Yes, I am.
But testosterone plays a crucial role in libido.
Right.
And variations in testosterone levels can influence your sex drive. A lot of people are aware of testosterone replacement therapy for older men. Full disclosure, I am on testosterone replacement therapy, and I have been for quite some time.
Right.
We'll get into the why
Yeah.
shortly.
Yeah.
Okay. The responsive desire. So in many men, sexual desire is often described as more spontaneous and responsive.
Yeah.
Do you know what that would feel like?
Is that what you were saying? Or really,
yes.
Is that what,
so men experience arousal and desire so fast, and it's in response to something physical or even something visual.
So it could be a
or
touch,
something auditory. Yes.
It could be a picture. It could be a woman just walking down the street.
It could be any of those things. It can be.
Could it be something that looks like something that's like?
Technically, yes.
That could arouse you.
Yes. Yes. So it's said that men think about sex, X many times per minute.
Yeah.
I think that's all subjective, sort of, but it's a lot.
Well, you've said that.
It's a lot. Like, I'm a man, I can tell you that it comes up in the mind a lot.
Yeah.
I think, especially when you're younger, like going through puberty, it's like all day, every day. It's all you think about all day long. It's crazy. It's the craziest thing. Most men.
I feel like I don't have time for that. I feel like my brain is constantly thinking of so much other shit. I'm really connecting things right now. Like, as a woman, I feel like my emotion, I don't think about sex like that at all.
Yeah.
I just don't, because I don't have time for that. I am
It's too much work.
Yes. I am literally thinking about what I have to do, my schedule, my kids, my work, everything.
Okay. But can I ask you,
okay,
do you get turned on visually? Like, if you see me with my shirt off, does that arouse you?
It depends on my cycle.
Okay.
That is something about women, is that we have cycles.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get into that, aren't you?
I will. Of course.
But I didn't even know that you had that on this. I just know this.
Of course,
because
I've done the research.
I know about women and
I
our
know
hormones.
and I knew the answer to that question.
And I know that because women can only get pregnant when they're ovulating, which is like days 7 and 11 of their cycle. 7, 8, like 5 days within the month is when a woman can get pregnant, something like that. And that is when we are most aroused too. So it's only that, what did you call me? You said I'm like a panda. Were you thinking this? You said I'm a panda. We knew we were going to giggle about this. Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. Because pandas can only get pregnant what?
Like once a year or something
like
for
that.
like an hour.
Right.
And so that's their window.
And that's what you say to me.
No, I didn't. It was a joke. Like there had been a week where we hadn't had sex.
Yeah.
And I think we were talking about it and kind of joking around about it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like there's no fun in it whatsoever if you're not into me. Yeah. And so I will pass if you're not into it. It's just not. You don't force. You don't try to persuade me I seek that connection, the eye contact, the touch, and I can tell the difference. Mm-hmm. And so I was joking. I'm like, you're like a panda, man. It never happened this week and you're not interested. So I'm just going to bed, panda. We were joking. It was I get really tired. Duh. Yeah, we got little kids around. We have we've got a lot going on,
Yeah.
And listen, like I will say, I think that the perspective I have on sex is probably different than most men.
Yeah. And I think you've been like that for a long time, and I'm very grateful for it, but I think it's healthy.
I think so.
I mean,
so.
We haven't had issues with it because of that.
Never. But anyway, so back to why men are the way we are.
Okay.
Visual stimulation. So men are often considered to be more visually stimulated than women are. Like I mentioned, physical appearance, visual cues play a significant role in triggering sexual desire within men.
Okay.
It's visuals. Like you can just see something and have the thought, and then your mind will sit there in that place for, I don't know, it feels like an eternity, but it's probably just a few seconds, but it crosses your mind a lot.
Okay.
It's wild. Absolutely wild. Physical connection. Men in general prioritize physical aspects of sexual intimacy, like touch and physical closeness, over the emotional pieces. For men, and for a lot of men, it's just about the physical. It's the physical piece. That's it. Mm-hmm. It's a means to an end. It's a means to achieve orgasm or whatever they're after. It's just the act of it, but that's what most men are after.
Okay.
We're set up this way, by the way. I'm not saying it's like good, bad, whatever. This is just the science of it.
Okay.
And there's also a single focus desire. Men are more likely to focus on a single sexual stimulus and find it easier to compartmentalize sexual desire from other aspects of life. So for us,
example,
it's just sex. It can be just sex.
Okay.
For women, this is so much bigger. And I'm not saying it's not all, okay? So forgive me if I'm speaking in these absolutes. It's not all. But in general,
right.
That's the case.
When we speak in absolutes, it's not intentional.
Yeah. Female sex drive. Obviously, you mentioned hormonal fluctuations throughout the month and with your cycle can increase or decrease your sexual desire in those times. Mm-hmm. And that is absolutely the case. Like I know whenever you're ovulating and when you're on, because you're touchy, super touchy, like assault. Assault, man. I can't even walk by you without hands going somewhere. And I know because that never happened at any time. And it cracks me up to no end.
Oh my God, I love it.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Women consider emotional and contextual factors. So for many women, emotional and contextual factors such as the connection, communication, and relationship satisfaction play a crucial role in sexual desire.
Yes. So, it has a healthy relationship definitely comes into play.
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Responsive desire and emotional connection. So women often experience responsive desire, meaning their desire may be triggered in response to emotional or relational cues. Mm-hmm. The emotional connection and sense of intimacy are often essential for women's sexual satisfaction. When it comes to, do you have a sex life you would say is satisfactory? These are the things that you're thinking about. Mm-hmm. When you can ask, Billy the dumbass over there, what he's after. He's like, well, I mean, the act took place 4 or 5 times, so it's great.
Yeah.
Not thinking about these deeper things.
Okay.
Multifaceted desire. So female desire is considered more multifaceted, like we just talked about. There's emotional, psychological, and physical aspects where men is more singular.
Seems so cavemanish.
Yeah, it is very cavemanish, without a doubt.
Women seem to be a little bit more evolved when it comes to sex.
Well, so we're not going to get into the evolutionary psychology of it all. There's some there's a lot of really interesting
having a conversation.
So a lot of really interesting reasons for this. So many will argue from a biological perspective, we're designed to procreate, and so one species is designed to just procreate. And that's the men, just have sex with as many other animals as possible, try to have more babies, try to procreate. It's in your best interest, evolutionary, to spread your genes.
What are the women?
Well,
what
do you think?
It doesn't matter.
It's definitely not to procreate as much as possible. It's to find a connection, to be able to keep your young safe. Surround yourself with, people that care, share your values, things like that. And we're more or less, I don't know, disposable in that sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've seen what animals will do. They sit there and butt heads with each other over a mate, or birds do the crazy feather thing. It's always, after this female.
Right.
You're the ones we're after. That's what we go for. We're designed to do that so we can pass on our genes.
Okay.
That's
interesting.
It's kind of wild.
Right.
This dog is growling.
It's okay.
I apologize.
She's fine.
Okay, so when it comes to the larger conversation here, I think that's important to get out of the way first.
Okay.
When we're talking about intimacy and sex differences and whatnot.
I will say that when I was pregnant with our son, that my sex drive was
way higher.
And I don't know if that's because the testosterone levels were higher or if it was the pregnancy hormones. I don't know, but I just remember it being very different than when I wasn't pregnant.
I remember reading about it whenever you were going through this. I remember some people saying that was their experience. Mm-hmm. Whether it's because there's extra testosterone in the body, I don't know. I really don't. But that was definitely true. But could it also have been because we were closer emotionally?
We were in a better place. She's fine.
This dog. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, so when it comes to libido, it's a question we get asked about a lot when it comes to someone in active addiction, someone in early recovery.
Okay.
I mentioned earlier that I was on testosterone replacement therapy.
Right.
So long-term abuse of drugs or alcohol has effects on your body's ability to produce testosterone naturally.
Okay.
It shuts down the center of okay, like I know that she wants it tonight and I have to do it even though I don't really feel like it, but I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to maintain an erection, which partly like for men anyway, it's just, it hurts your pride. And it's like, man, I want to be able to do this. Like I want to be able to please her.
Right.
I want to be able to have sex with her. And I want her to feel like she's beautiful enough to arouse me. And when you always were, it had nothing to do with the fact that it had nothing to do with you. And I want to just make that clear. Like in a lot of these cases, it has nothing to do with you.
Right.
And there's a lot of shame around it. Like there's conversations that are happening more now than they did like in a previous generation, but still it never gets that easy.
Yeah.
It's never an easy thing to deal with or to talk about. And I hated more than anything the way it made you feel, because you felt like it was something that it's like, oh man, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? And then you reach over and you just grab the toy. Like, all right, I'll take care of it myself then, I guess, dude. I said we were going there.
I didn't know we were going that deep, babe.
I said we were going there. But anyway, I talked about testicular atrophy, hypogonadism. Shuts down the testosterone within the body. What? The word testicle still cracks you up? What are we, 6th grade now?
It was the other word.
Atrophy?
No.
Hypogonadism?
Gonadism?
That's a real word.
That's a real word?
That's not just Beavis and Butthead. She's dying, y'all. She's dying over here.
It just clicked. I didn't know.
Yeah. So there's cells within the testes that are responsible for producing testosterone.
We will never
chronic
fully grow up.
Alcohol use will impair the function of those cells. It absolutely will.
That's important information for people to know, because that was a lot of the questions.
Yeah. Hey, can you open up the questions on your computer, because mine's about to die any second. Another thing that alcohol does is it affects the central nervous system. So you've got neurotransmitters, GABA and glutamate. One of these is an inhibitory neurotransmitter, but it's enhanced by alcohol. So the more you drink, the more it inhibits the flow of information between your body, between the neurotransmitters and this other one.
You're getting all science.
Glutamate is excitatory, and I love this stuff anyway. It shuts down. So just Nutamaker. So it shuts down the central nervous system, impairs brain function. We all know we've talked about this, but it impairs sexual performance, reduces libido, delays ejaculation, does all these things. Like alcohol messes the body up in active addiction and then after as well. Some drugs like amphetamine and cocaine have an opposite effect. And we'll talk about more of that in our next episode because most of the time we're talking about infidelity, cheating, and things like that. A lot of these guys are using amphetamines and cocaine.
That is
not always the case. Not always the case.
Not always, right? But that is
there are plenty of alcoholics that do it too.
A thing.
Plenty of alcoholics that do the same thing. Okay, so when it comes to what's happening in the body, what are some of the sex differences? Well, you can't find it?
No, because it's on the spreadsheet down here.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, well, whatever. When it comes to the sex differences, when it comes to some of the things that are going on, like physically within the body, that's some of them. Partly we are just built different when it comes to sex differences. Like I want people to understand that. Some of this stuff is just in us. Another part of this is there are effects to harmful chemicals in the body over long periods of time that are going to mess with your ability to maintain erections, get aroused, mess with the hormones, every bit of it. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, I think we prefaced the conversation. Let's talk about intimacy.
Okay.
When we asked the questions, it was like, tell us, what are your questions about intimacy? Most people, like men, will think of intimacy and think of one thing, and it's just sex. A lot of men just think of intimacy as sex.
Right. You kind of explained why, because y'all are cavemen.
We're cavemen, right. Women, I think, have a much better understanding intellectually of what intimacy is, because you were literally hardwired to seek it and to want that.
Yeah, for sure.
I think many men are late to the party. Not all men. There are plenty of men that understand what intimacy is. They understand what healthy intimacy is. They understand that there are two parts to it.
Well, don't you agree that whenever we have more of an intimate connection, that the physical intimacy is way better?
It's not even close. It's like, it's substantially better.
Yeah.
Like it is next level.
If you're just doing it to get your physical needs met, it's not gonna. It's just like, okay, boom, boom, gone. It's not. It's so much better whenever you have a connection.
Yeah, for us anyway. Like that's when it's always been the best.
Right.
Is when there was so much more there.
Right.
Which is why, like, I will just forego it if that's not there. Like,
right.
It's not even that fun.
Right. Yeah, you said that earlier.
Okay, so physical intimacy, we're going to talk about some of the questions we got. We're just going to read the questions and we're just going to answer them when it comes to physical intimacy. So how do you take the wall down and begin to love that way again after trust has been broken?
Okay, so this was actually probably the number one question.
It was. Yeah, it was.
That's a loaded question, though.
How do you take the wall down and begin to love that way again after trust has been broken? So I think there's a lot of there's a lot to this question, because it's not just about having sex again. Mm-hmm. It's about loving that way again is what they're saying. Mm-hmm. Like to really be able to trust someone again. So what I've said oftentimes is that the alcoholic or the addict has the larger share of the burden for rebuilding this stuff.
Yeah.
Through my actions, if I'm in recovery, early recovery, you're able to start to trust me again.
Yeah.
Through my actions, I'm going to be more open, vulnerable, and honest. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be able to become intimate with me again and be able to trust me again.
Yeah.
And then through that, we get in bed.
Yeah.
But it's those first two parts. So when someone's asking, it's kind of heartbreaking when someone asks, like, how do you take that wall down? You have to be able to trust someone, but you don't trust people that aren't trustworthy. You don't respect people that aren't respectable. Mm-hmm. You don't admire people that aren't, you have to be admirable. You have to have qualities that you appreciate and that you value in order to allow yourself to do that. If this person hasn't changed, I don't think you do take the wall down. Why would you?
Right.
Because they want it?
Right.
Because they said so? Like, I don't understand why you would.
No, it has to be earned. It's not like you can just, I don't know.
How did you, whenever we were new in this, whenever I was out of treatment and whatnot, did you ever feel like I had to earn that back?
Like the trust within it? It's so, we don't go back to that part very often because it was very different. Like, I don't remember much. I had our daughter who was not even a year old, and I don't remember specifically I don't remember how. I just remember we kind of tried to just go back to where we were before. Like, I can't remember.
I remember the intimacy, the emotional intimacy with us was that, like, compared to levels before I went to treatment, was so much higher.
Oh yeah, it was much higher because I was giving you an opportunity, obviously.
Yeah.
I was giving you the opportunity to show, that you were going to be the better man than you were before.
I think that people will know in their heart when it's right to trust somebody.
Yes. I believe that too. No different
than when you meet a stranger, like you make a new friend. Like, it takes a while before you're really letting them know, like, some deep down stuff.
Right.
But they earn that, don't they? You earn that through interaction, through similarities, through finding things that you both have in common. This is no different.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen overnight. Like, I had a lot of patience.
You did. Talk about some of your patience for a second.
We were talking about this earlier, about my patience.
Yeah, you've got a lot of it.
I don't know if I was like super naive or what, but I was very patient with the whole situation. You came out of treatment and I was thinking, all right, it's not perfect, but we're still having deep conversations. We were still we were connecting more than we were before when you were in active addiction, like you were just saying. And that was giving me the opportunity to still keep building that trust with you and to, become intimate with you physically. Like I wasn't afraid to do it. I felt like that we were in such a good place of still building the trust back that I was able to have patience with it.
Let's say that this was my third time in treatment. Let's say that there had been a lot of lying and relapses.
Well, that's my 3 strikes you're out rule.
Let's say I went to treatment 2 times. And let's say I had been a lot of lying and relapses and a lot of issues. How do you feel? Put yourself in that person's shoes.
No, I think I would be very guarded.
You would. So how would you allow yourself to trust again?
It would just take time. I wouldn't like just give in and say, okay, I'm just going to try and trust. I mean, I don't know, Matt. Like, I wasn't in that situation, but I know that would be really, really hard because I do know, like, later on in our relationship, whenever, you know, you were still having some of the behaviors.
Yeah.
That I did not want to become intimate with you very much because I did not feel safe with you. I didn't feel safe because I felt like, you know, you were still doing things that made me uncomfortable. But if I don't feel safe, I'm not going to do that.
So use that as your barometer. It's how safe do I feel with this person?
Yeah. How safe do you feel?
I think that's a good one because safety takes place over time. It's not earned it's not a decision you make. Oh, I'm just going to be safe now.
Right, but their partners are throwing this in their face too.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Okay. I got a lot of opinions about those guys.
I thought that you were doing that here.
Okay, so here's another question.
Okay.
Is there a point to working on intimacy if the trust and love are waning? Not just sex, but deep conversations. It's hard to figure out how to balance detachment and still engaging when you feel there's a high risk for hurt as a result. So this is someone like we just described, who's been in a relationship where trust and love are waning. We've seen this for more wheelies than I can count, where it's like, I'm just falling out of love with this person, or I've fallen out of love.
Right.
I think I'm just done. So there is such a thing as a relationship being totaled. Y'all.
Yeah.
It is. There is such a thing.
Right.
We didn't get to that point, but I know it's true. I've talked to therapists about this. I've talked to people who've been through divorce about this, separations and whatnot. It's like having an old car. Let's say you've got an old, reliable car. It's paid off. It's from the 90s though, and it's not worth much. But you get in an accident. Airbags go off. It's totaled. It costs more to fix that thing.
Yeah.
And the parts aren't available and some stuff is irreplaceable than it would be to just get a new car. Right. Relationships can get to that point. If there's been infidelity, if there's been emotional or physical abuse over a long period of time, and to come back from that is more work than it would be to start over with someone else, you could say that relationship is totaled.
Right.
And I think there are a lot of people who are in that position. And I just want to say it's okay. Like,
right.
we are not we're till the wheels fall off. That's our story. But we've talked about before, there are many meanings to that term. Many meanings.
Yes.
I hope it's something you can look at for yourself personally and say, like, I'm never giving up on myself and my happiness and what I want out of life.
Right.
But it's not always going to be up to you whether or not someone's willing to do that work to untotal a relationship. It's not always going to be up to you. But I think some part of this is to say that, is there a point to working on it? Sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't.
Yeah.
And I think that you gauge that by how much work are they doing? How much are they willing to invest? And how much patience do I have left?
That right there.
Because there's no guarantee that says whenever I finally decide to get sober, there's going to be any patience left.
Right.
That was something I got lucky on. Yeah. There was just enough left.
Right.
I had like one chance.
Right.
One more chance.
Yeah.
And I took it and I never looked back.
Yep.
Some people want to try that line over and over and over and over. And by the time it finally comes around, like, listen, like, is there any point to this?
Right.
Like, we're not even having deep conversations anymore. I'm still trying to detach, but I still like I should try. Let that be your decision and don't let anyone judge you for it.
Right.
It's whatever you feel is right in that moment.
Yep.
It's your life.
Yep.
Listen, it's not your mother's life or your friend's life or whoever wants to judge you for it. It's none of their business.
Yep.
You know what's best for you.
Yeah.
And that's what we're about, is empowering people to make those types of calls. If you need permission, we'll give it to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Next one. Make sure it wasn't one we got mixed in with some of the others. Okay. Do others find it difficult to be intimate with someone, a significant other, who has been self-destructive in the past and or through substance dependency really just displayed behaviors that you very much find a turnoff? Talk about that. When it comes to me.
Like whenever you were in active addiction?
Did some of those things turn you off so bad you're like...
Yeah. Like, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. I think that whenever we were recording and we stopped, I might have said it, but like whenever you only had showered once a week,
or
whatnot,
smelling and stuff,
like it's just not. It just wasn't attractive. It wasn't attractive that you didn't own up to your part in the house or own up your part in life. Like you weren't doing things that you should have been doing.
How about when I'm emotionally abusive? I'm screaming or yelling.
Oh my God. Or you're gone and, expect to come home and everything be perfect, but you were out lying to me the whole time.
You're home taking care of babies. And...
Yeah, no, the last thing I wanted to do was become intimate with you.
Yeah. So to answer that question, others very much are in that same boat.
Yeah.
Very much so. Okay, here's a good one. How do you create intimacy without sex being the end result?
You just have a deep conversation.
I think from a male perspective, there's some nuance to this question.
Yeah.
So for men, like some men, like we talked about like that stimulus, the touch, the physical touch. Some men just can't just cuddle. It's got to end at sex. You can't just give you a hug to give you a hug. It's got to end in sex or grabbing on your ass or doing something like that. Like, so I think this person could be asking, and we didn't ask for clarification, so we're just taking the question at face value. How do you create intimacy without sex being the end result? Could be, how do you prevent things? How do you let someone know that there's more to intimacy than just sex?
Yeah.
Another way to look at it, I think, is probably the more obvious one, which is, how do you create intimacy in a relationship, emotional intimacy?
You need to set aside time every day to have conversations and talk and be there. Now, it's going to be hard if somebody's in active addiction or alcoholism. Like, you're not going to get that. It's not going to happen.
We had an episode on that.
Well, yes. And if you want to know how to communicate in active addiction, we have a communication episode a few months back.
Check that one out.
Yeah, I think that would be a good one to listen to because your emotional needs are not going to be met. And there's nothing you can say or do to get them met.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Here's one. My alcoholic husband wants to be intimate 3 to 4 times a week. I have explained in both marital counseling and at home that I need emotional connection, honesty to want to do that. And right now we have neither. He won't go to personal therapy and he gets mad that I don't want it like he wants me to and says he feels neglected because of it. How do I navigate that?
I don't like the whole you have to have it a certain amount of time a week thing. That bothers me. Like, it should just happen, right?
Yeah.
Like, it should just happen. I don't feel like, I mean, we've talked about how many times we, have that a week, but we don't really like have it on a schedule or anything or make sure that it happens all.
I think we recorded, we cut that one earlier.
What do you mean?
I think, and the frequency of our sex life, like how often are we having sex in general?
We're going to tell people this?
Yeah, why not?
I guess average 3 times a week.
I would say that there are times though where
there are times where they're crazy, and whenever we're super tired once.
Yeah, if once. That, sometimes it's like, oh, we didn't have sex this week.
But that's very rare though. It's at least once.
Yeah.
At least once.
But the 3 times, if we have sex 3 times in a week, that is mutual.
Yes. And it's also like, it depends on the time of your marriage, like the season of your marriage too.
And full disclosure, I would have sex 7 days a week. I would.
Unless you haven't had your testosterone shot.
Then I'm just like,
because
whatever.
Then you're
I'm
just
apathetic.
like, I don't even want to do it. Then you feel like a woman.
I'm apathetic to the whole thing. But I'm just saying, like, as a man, yeah, men are going to want it often. But something I've always loved about you is that you made me earn my dinner. Always. Always. You never made it like, you never looked at it as your duty. You never looked at it as a biblical thing. Like, this is my job. Like, you were always like, F that toxic BS.
No. This is my body. I'm going to make decisions.
Thank you.
You are not, I will not allow you to force yourself.
And that has never been part of our marriage.
No.
Sexual coercion can take place inside of a marriage.
Right.
And this is what we're talking about here.
Right.
This is a form of abuse.
Right.
This dude is toxic.
Damn, boo.
Straight up, I get sick of seeing this shit because I'm a man. I know what it feels like to have urges, dude. Act like a fucking adult.
Right.
That's where I'm at. Excuse my language.
You've got to meet your partner in the middle. It's not just her duty to do what you need her to do. Like, men have needs. Okay, well, we have needs too. Are you going to meet them?
Here's another one that drives me absolutely crazy.
Oh, we're going off now, babe.
Men that say that their sobriety is contingent on sex.
That's a thing.
That is a thing. I see these assholes everywhere. Everywhere.
Women,
on the internet.
Please do not listen to that.
I need that physical connection, or there's no point in me staying in this relationship. There's no point in me trying to be sober if I don't get some. They say that shit. This is how, when we talk about emotional intelligence, that's something that I cannot stress enough when it comes to a healthy marriage and a healthy partner. And if emotional intelligence isn't there, you're asking questions that you're not going to get an answer to that you ever want to hear.
Exactly.
You are dealing with a primitive person.
Yes.
When it comes to emotional intelligence.
Right.
And they are never going to meet you where you've been with yourself.
Right.
Like they can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves, which is grunting, best I can tell. That's about where these guys are at.
Oh my God.
I see this all the time where it's like, I need
awful.
sex. I need sex. Like that's what's going to get you sober. Are you out of your mind? That's coercive. That's abusive. That has nothing to do with recovery.
Oh, somebody did post that on my TikTok.
It has nothing to do with recovery. Now, if what you're saying, you dumbass, is I need emotional intimacy and connection in my life, and that helps me feel like I'm working toward a marriage one day.
Yeah.
That's a different thing to say, but
absolutely.
But these people communicate it as I need sex. It makes me want to like hurt people when I see this kind of stuff, and I feel for people that deal with this kind of stuff. Like I'm a man, I know what it feels like to have urges, but we are adults. We are civilized people, right? Like doesn't mean the urges go away. They're still there, but you learn how to manage them. Act accordingly.
Just like
You're a
anything
freaking
else.
adult.
Just like you've had to manage, people have to manage how much food they eat. You had to manage by becoming sober.
You can't just give in to every freaking desire you have.
You all of your things, and it's just like, oh, well, we're married, so this is a requirement that has to happen within our marriage. I do not believe it is a requirement unless you are meeting in the middle and there is some emotional connection there.
These are completely anonymous
BS.
questions, by the way. We have no clue who asked them, and I apologize if I'm coming after someone and it feels like you're being attacked. It's triggering for me to hear this kind of shit because I'm a man and I know what it feels like to manage urges.
Yeah.
I manage more than a few every single day. So don't tell me you can't do it.
Right.
I'm not special. You just have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And for her to go through this, or he, I don't know, go through this, I guess it was a man. Yeah, it's a woman. Anyway, he won't go to therapy, gets mad that she doesn't want it like that, and says he feels neglected because of it. If that's all it is to you, bye.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Right.
That is going to take so long for someone to recover from, both sides of that. Like for him to understand what it's like to have a truly emotional, like a true emotional connection with somebody, and for her to come out of the trauma of all that.
Yeah.
God, man. That one just hurts me.
Yeah,
that hurts.
it's
Now I see that all the time. It drives me crazy.
I know.
I see guys that, so I'm a guy, there's guy talk, and the way that some guys talk about sex, it's disgusting. And I'm not saying that like, oh, I'm so woke. Dude, I love sex. I love having sex with you, Paige. I love it. I would do it every day. If you were into it and you'd be like, hey, let's go. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Haven't I told you that forever?
Yes.
And like, the answer is yes. Like, you're just going to ask me. The answer is yes.
Yes.
But have I ever at any point in our relationship pushed it on you, coerced you into doing it?
No.
Been inappropriate about it, forced myself on you.
It has never been a requirement. Like we've never had this mentality of like, oh, we just have to have sex too. It wasn't like that. It's always been mutual.
Yeah. I need men to act right. Like so bad. Like you're embarrassing us all. Act right.
It breaks my heart because I know a lot of people that it's weaponized in relationships.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad.
Yeah, that one's tough. Okay, so when it comes to emotional intimacy, we're out of the physical stuff now. I think that covers most of the physical things that we talked about. Emotional intimacy. So how do you communicate with someone how their drinking affects intimacy?
Again, go read go listen to the communication episode in active addiction because it's I think words don't get through.
The TLDR version of that, too long, didn't read. Like, what the Cliff Note version of that? How do you appropriately communicate? I'm not sure when it comes to the word appropriately. Is there a way to appropriately communicate it? When someone's in active addiction, no. There's not a way to appropriately. You need to do it in a way that is...
You can use I feel statements.
There you go.
Obviously. I mean, you can, keep a calm demeanor and just basically speak how you feel and not make it about them, make it more about you. But the reality is it may go in one ear and out the other.
I have an idea. I'm going to create an episode, and maybe it's just me talking to the mic, and it's just share this with your husband who doesn't understand what intimacy is. I'd be more than happy to explain it to these knuckleheads. More than happy.
I love how you call them knuckleheads.
Yeah, using I feel statements, things like I would just have very low expectations around their response.
Right.
Because how do you communicate with someone that is in that place where they have not, like they're in kindergarten and you're in a PhD program? How do you communicate those sorts of concepts? You're not going to do it in a way that gets you any kind of, I think, reaction that you want. You're not going to create or elicit this sort of like aha moment in them.
No, they may.
Because what they're going to do when you tell them that I need an emotional connection, they're going to lose it.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to get toxic about that.
Yes.
They are going to make fun of you. They're going to say that, oh, you're the problem, all kinds of ridiculous
Or they're going to
shit.
say, sure, I'll work on it. And then nothing changes. It can go all different ways, but it's not going to follow. There's not going to be a follow through until the substance is removed and recovery happens.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you can just say that when it comes to the way that I want to be intimate with you, when it comes to sex, it's first got to start with the emotions. I feel like I can trust you. I got to feel like there's a connection between us, that you're honest with me, that you're vulnerable, that you're letting me in your head. Mm-hmm. That's important stuff. Mm-hmm. But if they don't want to do those things, or if they don't understand what that means, they're going to throw some really nasty shit back your way.
Right.
That's what generally happens.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. How to get a spouse to understand, this is very much the same question, how emotional it is. And if you're not getting what you need in life, it's hard to be intimate or even want to. Talk about your TikTok reel.
The one that I said, in order for us to be physical, we have to have the emotional piece first.
How do you get someone to understand that?
You just have deep conversations. I mean, you have trust. You have to have a safe space. I mean,
before we get any further in these questions, because there's a common theme here.
Yeah.
I need to know, and ask yourself this question, if you relate to any of these. Has your marriage ever been intimate?
That was going to be my question next, yeah.
Has it ever been intimate? Can you look at your marriage and your spouse honestly and say, at one time I was getting exactly what I'm talking about here. I was having these deep conversations.
And feeling safe and having trust and feeling like you were very close with each other. Think of a time, if ever, that you've ever had that with your partner.
I see a lot of people that sort of forget that these people were never this person. Mm-hmm. And they're in active addiction. They're thinking that sobriety is going to get them to be that person. Or at some point they're going to change and be that person. They've always been this person, most likely.
Yeah. But then there are some who will say, oh, but when they are sober, like just meaning they're not drinking, oh, we have really great conversations.
I'm going to say that they're probably still not at the level that you're talking about here.
Agreed.
Still not there.
Agreed.
A lot of men don't know how to be intimate. We don't. And why would we? Because
y'all are taught to keep your emotions in.
Think of the way that and it's not an excuse, but this is a reason.
This is true. This
part
is
of the
society.
Reason.
This is how you're raised.
I'm not going to get into all the neuroscience behind this too.
No.
Huberman's got some awesome stuff about that if you're ever interested. But when it comes to just the way that we're raised, the way that we talk about emotions, we don't talk about emotions. Mm-hmm. When we're little boys and we have emotions, we're beat, we're hit, we're shamed, we're told not to do that, don't say those things.
Toughen up. Yeah.
If you came from a healthy home, then most likely you know how to be intimate. You know how to talk about these sorts of things. If you've been in a long-term relationship with someone and you're open to taking advice and challenges, you've likely learned how to do this, like I did, like with you.
I mean, I feel like you've had a really good way at getting into a deep connection with me, even when we were younger.
I think it was something that it was just in me, I think.
Yeah.
At a young age. And I've got two brothers, and I would say for the most part, like, yeah, we know what it's like to have a deep conversation. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, I mean, but it's not the case for everyone. Like there are a lot of boys that's sissy talk. You don't talk like that. That's not, you don't ever go there. You don't have those kinds of conversations. And there's a generation of men running out there believing that kind of stuff.
Oh man, that's heartbreaking.
It's rough. And I'm not saying like we all just need to be, one extreme or the other.
No. There's a good middle ground.
But you need to know how to do it. You need to know how to do it, man. So that'd be my question is, how do you get them to understand it? Ask yourself the question first.
Yeah.
This is who they are. Have they ever done these sorts of things?
Right.
And how do you develop that? You can let them know it's okay to have deep conversations. Like when I work with people who I feel are high strung or people that are just really intense, I have to remind them like, what are you so tuned up for? It's not that serious.
Yeah.
Like, did you know that being vulnerable is a turn on for your wife.
Right.
Did you know that being honest with her is a turn on?
Right.
That sort of thing she loves. You can do that.
Yeah.
They just have to give themselves permission that it's okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to create an episode and let them know. That's a separate thing between me and your men. And I will do my best to communicate this message in a way that I think will resonate. And
it also helps whenever you help our mental load, like help do things.
That is a big part of it. The emotional and mental labor of being a mother or a woman taking care of another child, aka alcoholic or addict, is huge.
Yeah. And
you have no clue how much it means to give a shit. Someone corrected me on this and said, when I posted about the emotional labor and like the mental labor of being a woman at times. And
yeah,
talking about Celeste Yvonne's book.
Oh yeah.
And rather than asking how I can help, this person corrected me and was like, how about you just use your damn brain and just help, just do something.
Yeah.
You can see I'm struggling over here. Use your effing head.
Yep.
And fix it. Do something. That goes a long way. It goes a long way. So if you're doing dishes and I notice that the laundry over there is still in a giant pile, hey, 2 + 2 is 4. I'm going to go fold some laundry real quick.
Right.
Which I did today, by the way.
Thank you. Well, it looked like you just took some towels out of the dryer and threw them on the floor.
I didn't fold the towels yet because those are easy. Towels are simple. I did all the hard stuff. I did like the tops that you can't even figure out how to unfold. I can't tell your underwear from Sydney's anymore, so I had to sort through all that. Like shirts, like you guys wear the same size shirts.
Yeah.
I went through all that stuff.
Okay.
I did all that.
All right. Thanks,
okay.
I guess.
Where was I? Where were we? Oh, okay.
Things.
How do you differentiate between what is considered withholding sex and being so completely turned off when your partner is drinking that there's no way you're going to do it?
It's actually really good. I don't think women, I mean, there might be some who just withhold sex maybe as punishment, but
I've read this. That
but I haven't seen that very much, to be honest with you. I've seen more of like this, where it's like, it's not that they're withholding, it's that they are not feeling connected with their partner. They're not trusting them. They don't feel safe. So why would they want to give themselves to them?
I would say this. If you are doing it to punish, men will say you're weaponizing sex.
Okay.
They will say that. Like, you're doing it to punish. Like, I'm not going to have sex with you until you clean the gutters.
Okay.
That's withholding sex intentionally to get what you want.
Okay. But what if you say, I'm not going to have sex with you if you're drinking?
I would say that that's a boundary.
Okay.
Because what do boundaries do? They protect you. So if someone's drinking, their behaviors are hurting you. Arguably, I guess gutters overflowing could hurt you, but unlikely. But when it comes to sex, this is totally different, right?
A gutter thing, that's kind of silly. If you're
doing
chores,
that, whatever. I'm just trying to think of something.
I mean, come on, that's a little silly. This is all deeper. This goes much deeper, and we know that these relationships, it's much deeper.
Are you using sex as a tool to get what you want? And is that thing related to your safety or your well-being?
Okay,
totally different. So, what's the difference? I would say that you probably know the difference. But he's telling you you're weaponizing sex.
That right there.
That's probably why the question even came about, my guess.
Right.
Like, your drinking affects me. Hello?
Right. Your behavior affects me.
No, you're just withholding sex.
I'm not comfortable with this. Just don't listen.
You're making it worse. I'll just drink.
Don't listen to what they don't know what they're talking about. Just don't listen.
Okay. So this is actually like a 3-part question. It's a long one. I'm just going to read the whole thing.
Okay.
So there's some backstory here for the question. So this person's what?
Okay.
Don't?
No, I think you can summarize.
Okay. Here, let me read it real quick and summarize.
Well, he's been in recovery.
This person's been in recovery
for
a little while.
Yeah.
Struggled with intimacy. So this person wants to better understand the why. Very hard not to take it personally and feel resentful when they're vulnerable, reach out, and it's not reciprocated. So what prevents the person in recovery from being intimate?
Well, we talked about
We
that
did talk
earlier.
about some of those things. Yeah. Okay. And when it comes to testosterone levels, those things can recover over time. Sometimes. Depends on how long and how severe the use was. So sometimes they can recover sexual intimacy. And the trust that comes with being comfortable with yourself in recovery can also be recovered.
Because you're completely finding yourself again.
Like we've said it before, but I want to remind people that you are being introduced to a totally new partner. This is a new person.
This is a new person.
New person.
It's like, that's why we say when you take the substance away, it's not going to fix everything because things are going to be totally different.
Totally new person. Totally
You're
new
not going to
person.
get the person back that you had before.
And people in recovery have to get comfortable with themselves.
Yes.
And that's a process.
Yes, and we have to get comfortable with you.
Yeah, you got to get comfortable with me too, the new me. And sometimes you're like, I don't really like you, man.
anymore. Yeah.
I don't like you.
That happens.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Like, I work with a lot of men.
Totally
and
okay.
I encourage men to take pride in who they are. Take pride in those feelings. Take pride in those emotions. Be okay talking about these things. Share these things. Be open with this. But this isn't everyone's experience in recovery. Mm-mm. This was the path that I walk with people, but not everyone walks that path. They're just white knuckling it. They're not going to figure it out anytime soon, most likely.
Right.
You got to want to get better. You got to have some sort of a mentor or others around you that are encouraging that type of behavior. So what prevents it? A lot of that. Whether or not they're working toward it prevents it. Sometimes it's just duration of time. How long have you been sober?
Yeah.
A year is like you get to know yourself that first year, and then you can start to build from it.
Right.
But for the first year, you have no clue who or what you are.
Right.
No idea. Like, it's freaky.
Yeah.
How to cope with feelings of rejection when trying to be intimate. And this person says it's even something as simple as just holding someone's hand. Mm-hmm. So they're probably dealing with what I would say, we'll talk about attachment styles one day.
Yeah.
But someone that is, I don't even know if it's an attachment thing, but this is someone that does not know how to be close. This is someone that probably has trust problems. Most likely, just in my experience seeing this, it's usually what it is. This is someone that is uncomfortable with any sort of intimacy or being close. When you're drunk, it's easy because you can let yourself get there.
Right.
Otherwise, you're avoidant. And you don't want to get too close because you don't know where that goes.
Right.
And you're avoidant attached people are very interesting. Very interesting. But a lot of alcoholics tend to be.
But so it's not necessarily.
How would you cope with the rejection though? Let's say that you went to hold my hand. Like, it would hurt.
It would be,
Man.
It would really hurt my feelings. I think I would try to have a conversation with you. Just an honest conversation to say, you know, how are you feeling? Like, is everything okay? Is there something that I could do better? Is there something that you're going through that you want to talk about? Like, I'm here for you, you know, just having a conversation.
Yeah. Like, is it me? Is it you? Is it stress that you're going through?
Right.
You just not want to be touched?
And if it's me, then, you know, let me know. And what can I do?
Yeah. Is it something like, you don't like my perfume? Like, or is it like bigger than that?
Right. And it's okay to be vulnerable. Like, try to encourage your partner to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because that's what you want.
Right. And so that means using I feel statements, not when you statements, really.
Right.
It's not
like,
damn you, you did it again. Right. You always do this to me. You make me feel this way.
You can even be careful with saying, like, I feel so rejected. Like, you can say that, but just try to really speak on how you feel and try to connect with them and empathize with them, you know, and try to get to their level and see what's going on.
It's like going in for a kiss and then someone turns away. It's, dang, you don't want to kiss me?
Right.
Like, is it my onion breath or are you just like not into me?
Right. But you can
ask
a question and just say it calmly.
So should I read more into it? I would definitely ask about that.
Right.
Without a doubt, I would. Is there a larger issue at hand? Most likely. Mm-hmm. But I will say that early sobriety is a very confusing time.
And it is just part of the process because
to some degree. And I think that there's guilt and shame that people can feel that do this as well. Guilt and shame are powerful emotions in people who are in early recovery.
Yeah.
You know, the guilt of feeling badly for the things we've done. And when those things turn inward into shame, it's these things are who I am. Mm-hmm. They feel unworthy of love. Feel like we don't deserve love. Like we don't, like you've seen the movie Star is Born, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think every addict or alcoholic has had that thought at some point. Like, you would be better off without me. Don't get too close to me because I'm going to hurt you. That's what I do to people.
Right.
I screw people up. Mm-hmm. And so in order to protect you, I need you to get away from me.
Yeah.
He ended up committing suicide to allow her to go live her dream. Mm-hmm. I had that thought. Everyone I know has had that thought at some point. So there could still be some of those guilty feelings going on. I think therapy is a great thing. Marriage counseling is a great thing.
Yep.
I would suggest it.
Yep.
Let's see here. Searching for intimacy in others in an alcoholic relationship. Is this a normal thing to do? Is it healthy? When you don't get it from your spouse, how do you deal? Not talking about physical intimacy, but emotional intimacy. So they're not talking about the buzzer in the drawer.
Right.
They're talking about where do you get emotional intimacy from if you're not getting it in this relationship?
is it asking if the alcoholic is getting it from somewhere else?
So this person is searching for intimacy in others in an alcoholic relationship.
Okay.
Is this a normal thing to do? Is it healthy? When you don't get it from your spouse,
I
how
mean,
do you deal?
I can understand why you would want to do that if you're not getting it from your spouse. I mean, it sucks.
I mean, we're talking like on the lines of like an emotional affair at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're saying you would do this.
I'm not saying I would, but I can understand why somebody would.
Yeah.
Because if you're getting something if you're not getting it at home, it can wear you down.
So rather than emotional intimacy on the level that you would get in a romantic relationship, I think that you can have intimate relationships with everybody. Like I have more intimate relationships in my life than I've ever had before.
Right.
But that just involves honest, open, vulnerable communication with people.
Right.
And it also involves validation.
Yes.
So getting connected with people who are going through what you're going through, people who get it, who aren't going to shame you or judge you or try to give you advice that is unsolicited or unwarranted.
Right.
That can be helpful. That can fill your cup for that emotional intimacy.
Absolutely.
So we got a community for that.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's for.
Yeah. That's great.
Here we go. How to feel connected again and how to support him while expressing my needs without making him feel worse about it. My husband was very lovely and affectionate most of the time when he was drinking, as long as he didn't drink too much and get hammered. He's 5 months sober now. He wants to cuddle. He's often depressed and has low self-esteem, so he doesn't have the confidence to be intimate. He's told me this and he's apologetic. I tell myself it's not me. It's his brain rewiring, but sometimes it does feel pretty lonely. Man, that is so relatable.
Yeah.
I think that is the experience that we had.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, there are a lot of things hormonally going on with somebody. There's also feelings of guilt and shame. But I will say, an alcoholic just removes the substance has only fixed 5% of the problem.
Right.
We've got to get into therapy. We've got to get with people who have been there before, who figured out how to be happy in it. You can talk all the mess you want about like AA or NA or any of that. And we've had opinions about 12-step type groups, but a community of support is important.
Yeah.
Celeste Yvonne got sober on her own for the most part.
Yeah.
She said if she had to go back and do it again, the one thing she would change is that she would find some sort of a community of support for others that were going through the same thing. Helps relieve those feelings of guilt and shame. Helps you talk about some of this stuff. And you're right. It's not you most likely. It's mostly his brain rewiring. Hormones are probably all out of whack. But that does feel lonely. And I totally understand that.
Yeah.
So how to feel connected again? I would, if he's not a belligerent type and never really was, start to have those honest conversations. Start to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. Maybe in my episode moving forward, I'll tell men, if you need to go get your T levels checked, go get them checked.
Right.
Could have something to do with some of this.
Absolutely.
But there's also another side of that's dangerous because there are a lot of men who like they use testosterone as an excuse to go cheat. I've seen that too.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah. You haven't seen our DMs on that? Hell yeah. Okay,
let's not get into that. We're going to talk about that on the next episode.
That gonna make you mad? You got some opinions on that?
I do.
Oh yeah. Okay. How can we build trust back and allow me to be fully myself again? What are the steps you can take to get comfortable with intimacy again when your spouse is in recovery? Husband's just about a year sober. She still struggles with wanting to be intimate. I've heard that if there's no trust, there's no lust. So my question is, did you ever lose sexual attraction? Did it slowly come back once he was clean for a while? Or is it a once damaging thing that's never really the same? This guy's trying to do all the right things, but it's just the last thing on her mind. He says it's how he feels, quote unquote, loved by me, but I also don't know if he's just replacing another addiction. He thinks sex every day / every other day would be good. Thoughts on that?
Well, we kind of covered that on another question.
A bit, and we're not sex therapists by any means. So, and I'm never going to tell everyone, just go have sex, go have sex, go have sex. I think you need to have sex when you feel sex is safe and right.
When you feel safe.
Right. Men are always going to ask more. Like they always, that's what we do.
Right.
But
I mean, it's not going to be 100% either though. There are times where I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not really feeling, super connected right now, but I'm going to do it anyway because maybe I will, get in the mood.
Hang on. So there's some times where I'm like, are you down? And you're like, F it. I guess so. That's kind of how it works for you sometimes.
Sometimes.
That's funny.
I'm just saying, like, it's not like
You do a rather good job of faking it.
it's
man.
a great. Shut up. There's a gray area here.
Okay.
It's not about
But did you ever lose sexual attraction to me?
just whenever you were.
I was gross.
Gross.
And did that come back? Obviously. Once I start taking care of myself, I would think.
Yeah.
But I think she's right. There's no trust. There's no lust.
No, you have to have trust. You have to feel safe. But it is a process.
So-
It is a process. It will take time.
Guy talk here. We're really simple creatures. We've already established that, right? We grunt back and forth to each other.
Yes,
That's how we talk.
yes.
So a lot of guys say that their love language is physical touch. What a cop out that is. They should remove that one from
That
the
needs to go
options.
away.
Then you remove that from the options because every guy will just say it's physical touch. Like I know a guy who says like my thing is physical touch. So he needs sex like 5 to 6 times a week. That's what he says.
But that's
I'm like,
bullshit.
dude, I think you have self-esteem issues. I don't think this has anything to do with physical
Right.
touch. Physical touch for me anyway is like, let me like grab you in this moment and give you a huge hug when I know that you're struggling.
I was gonna say, our children, physical touch is their love language because they love hugs.
Yeah, they love to be held.
They want to be hugged.
Like whenever you're struggling or anxious, just to hold my hand.
Yes.
We're not just talking about touching one part of your body.
No.
A lot of guys say that. If you're saying sex is what's going to cure your relationship issues, you've got bigger issues there. You've got self-esteem issues. You've got self-worth issues. You got a lot of other stuff going on. Now, is it validation to get someone to have sex with you? Yeah. Like it is.
Yeah.
It is. Like, okay, well, we've gotten to the point where you trust me enough to give me that. But if you haven't earned your dinner, it doesn't mean anything. Stop.
It sounds so weird that like you say that you have to earn it.
In some ways, I think
But
that...
I think that's healthy. I think that's not, and it's not necessarily earn it, but it's like you just get
It's
on
a
the
joke,
same
obviously.
level.
It's facetious, but I think that
Right.
you have to check all the boxes in order to get there. And I feel like if I
Yes.
haven't, like, man, that's not even like... No, it feels forced.
Doesn't it feel awkward?
Yes.
Wouldn't it feel wrong? Like kind of icky?
You know when you're just not being honest or like when you've done something
Yes,
wrong? It's just
yes.
like, it feels icky, sort of.
It almost feels abusive. I don't want to say that, but it does kind of feel like just ew.
Yes, but for a lot of guys, this is the validation. Like, okay, I'm doing the right thing because she's willing to sleep with me. And that's how they gauge their worthiness and their progress, is by how many times they're getting laid.
It's just sex. I'm sorry. I just don't understand how it's got to be like...
It's bigger than that. If it was just sex, it wouldn't bother people when we slept with others.
I mean,
and
I
all that.
understand, like, it's obviously it's more for women. It's more than that. But for men, it's, I don't know. It just seems...
No, men have feelings too, man. We just claim we don't. We have feelings. We do. And this guy has feelings, without a doubt. But what she's saying
But
is...
are they covering?
Trust has been damaged and the trust hasn't been rebuilt, but he's saying sex every day is what's going to do it. And I
No.
think that that's false. I
That's
think
not true.
That is a,
I don't agree with that.
yeah, I think that is a misguided way to look at what is my metric I'm going to use for rebuilding trust, because this person is right. And we'll get into it, that you can replace addictions. Addiction is addiction.
Yeah.
Once you've become used to this dopamine kick that you get from X event, Y event, whatever it might be,
Right.
you will find something to replace it with.
Right.
Cross addiction is very common.
Yes.
Very common.
Yes.
Okay. Got a couple more, then we're done. Okay. So how do you get past the booze smell and the resentment? I don't know how long I can keep this going. Refuses help, complains no sex. This person's just basically saying they have no intimacy at all. They're really interested in it, but they do miss this person.
Yeah.
Over 30 years with somebody. How do you get past the resentment? Would you sleep with me if I was smelling like booze?
No.
So I think that this person's more or less just saying, like, I'm just hurt and I miss him. But
Right.
how do you get past it? Do you want to?
Right. I know. Like, I mean, it's not
Why?
going to be better unless the person gets help.
Yeah, this is more like a cry for I just miss my person.
Right.
I don't think you just learn how to deal with that. It's disgusting.
No.
It's gross. You want them slobbering all over you and stuff?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's tough.
I just want to hug you.
So how can you possibly ever have intimacy again after the trust and respect have been lost due to alcoholism? That's most of these questions. This person just basically said that they are a shell of their former self. Used to be fit, used to work out, used to be present in their lives. Now they're the opposite of all those things. And can you ever look at someone the same again? You know, I think that there are things that happen that sort of leave an imprint on your mind when someone's in active addiction. But can you get past them? Yeah, absolutely you can. But it takes a long time. It takes time.
Yeah.
Like there are some men who are really weird about like the birth process. Like they won't watch it because it will ruin sex for them in the future. You never heard about this?
Yeah. You weren't one of those.
No.
You watched.
I had to help the freaking janitor, whoever it was.
You almost called him a janitor. He was not a janitor. They were low on staff. There were a lot of babies.
He was an
born.
X-ray tech, I think.
Yeah.
Me and an X-ray tech delivered the baby, our daughter.
Well,
there was like 9 babies being born at the same time, and it was like 3 a.m, and they couldn't.
You didn't deliver her. They had to suck her out with a little sucky thing.
I was holding your leg behind your head, basically.
My leg didn't go back there then.
We were squeezing hands. We were screaming together, and the whole bit.
Oh my God.
The whole bit. But anyway, some say that like that is something they don't want to see because it can traumatize them for future events. No. Okay, while it may be traumatizing, can you move past it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you find peace in it? Absolutely.
Yeah. Were you traumatized?
No. So can you find peace in someone's? Can you find peace? Can you move past some of the things that have happened? You absolutely can, but it doesn't happen right away. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. They're going to have to do a lot of work. You're also going to have to do some work about, okay, these things happened. I have to accept that they happened, but you're going to have to be able to look at them and say, but they're not that person today. Right. And that makes it okay. If they're still that person, you're probably never going to get over it.
Right.
So that concludes the questions and the answers on intimacy. Now,
until the next episode.
I don't know if we're going to do it right next week.
Oh, we're not?
Or maybe the week after.
Oh, okay.
Stay tuned. We'll find out.
Oh.
But we're going to cover some of the more, I don't know, some of the nastier stuff, the cheating, the infidelity, some of that other stuff that is very, very difficult. Yeah. This has been a long one.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I didn't realize it was an hour and 15 minutes long.
I know. I need to go to bed.
Same.
I gotta take Sid.
I have to rehearse and get on a plane tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss you.
I'm gonna miss you too. Man. It's okay. This is what hard feels like. This is what we signed up for.
I know.
Remember?
Yes.
This is part of it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here. We hope that this was helpful. Be on the lookout for an episode from me to men.
Ooh.
Coming soon. I'm not sure how soon. I've got to write it. I've got to make sure I do this right because I want to get this one right.
Okay.
And then be on the lookout for our next series on intimacy that covers infidelity and cheating and whether or not that is an excuse that you can forgive. All right. So until next time, I am Matt.
I'm Paige.
And we'll see you.
Bye.